Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Transfer Agenda show on the LFC Daytrippers. I'm your host, Keith, and I'm delighted to be joined by two regulars on stage, Chris and Kev. Kev, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Not too bad. Not too bad after enjoying a good night's football, to be fair.
Yeah,
Enjoyed that
excellent.
game tonight.
Yeah,
It was a decent game.
I want to touch on that now in a sec before we get started. And Chris, what about yourself? How are you?
Good, mate. Basking in the glory of a scrappy 1-0 win by the women, so it was great. It's like she scored a goal, Stoke City-esque.
Lovely.
So I seen the comment. Was it Prenton Park hasn't seen a long throw like that since Dave Challoner was there?
Oh, Megan Campbell.
It's some serious throw.
Oh, she gets. I mean, I've seen it before, but they found a gap for it to get back. It was like a missile going in. You're like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, right into the 6-yard box.
It was scary in the corner. I mean, Sanders scored the winner, which is quite cool.
So, did she?
Yeah, because our main striker actually had an unusually quite bad game for
Who was that, Liam Kiernan?
Yeah, she did everything but score. You have one of those games, and when she went off, you're a bit like, well, that's our main goal scorer got off. It's going to be interesting. And to be fair to her, the new girl came on, put herself about, scored the winner. Poacher's goal, just what you wanted. So it's great. 83rd minute winner, it's good fun, that. So
what more can you ask for? Great stuff. Great start to the show. Just everyone in the chat there, great to see them. Everyone in there flying already. What we plan to do this evening is we're going to just talk again through links to Liverpool, what we think of them, what we think is good and what's maybe not so good, what's pie in the sky and what we think may be realistic, and our opinion on some of these links. And then we'll touch on other clubs as well, some of the more active clubs that are being linked. I think we all know it's, Newcastle, Aston Villas of this world are constantly now being linked as a destination for players. But lads, something you touched on there, Kev, you watched the Chelsea-Brighton game before we started here. Good game. Brighton are a good side.
Brighton are a very good side. They're very easy on the eye. And I've said it on here numerous times. They're a striker away from being a side that challenges for a European place. Potter has given those players confidence to play a certain way, and with some key signings, Cucurella's looks an absolute no-brainer of a. I liked him from last season. I thought he was going to do well. I thought Brighton got him at a really good price. I think they paid something like 18 million for him, which isn't cheap, but at the same time, he was
very coveted. Yeah, he was hopefully.
Yeah, he played for Spain at the Olympics. He'd already broken through their under-21 setup, and I'm not sure if he'd been capped at senior level yet. But for the way Brighton play, him on one side and Lamptey on the other side, it offers you so many options because they're really good footballers. Yeah, they're aggressive, they're quick, and they can put it about. But they're very good. They're very good footballers. And Brighton, again, they should have won. With a striker, with a decent striker, is a difference between. That's 2 points dropped, and that's Chelsea are on a barren run to beat all barren runs. 2 points from their last 12. Yeah, no win in the last 4. Lukaku looks like he's not interested.
Who'd have thought? After that
incident, it's just one of those things, and I don't know. I think they look like they're out on their feet. They were gassed. They were so passive, and I just think that they're going to concentrate on the Champions League and try to retain that. They'll push for the top. They'll be in the top 4. They're safest houses there, but
I don't think they've got enough goals for the Champions League. I might be wrong.
No, I think they're a better. They were a better side when Lukaku wasn't in the side. They were a better side without Lukaku because they're forced to play a different way.
They look better with Havertz through the middle.
Yeah. Havertz, I didn't even realize Mason Mount played tonight until Havertz came on. I honestly didn't even realize he was playing because
that's the benefit
he
of
was
Havertz.
just anonymous.
He is like their version of a Firmino. He just links it perfectly, but to be fair, he's more prolific. He's a bit more prolific as well.
Yeah. I mean, if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be pulling my hair out at the state of what they're doing at the minute. And with what they've spent, they haven't got much room.
Yeah.
To go again, they'll have to. They've got a lot of money that they got to lay out in the coming summer at the back. You know, they've got the likes of Aspilicueta. Christensen still has to sort his deal out. Rudiger is another one. Yeah, you've got Silva, but in all fairness, they've got some good young players in Chalobah, and the other Malang Sarr looks decent, but they're going to need to be shopping for a centre back. So that doesn't leave them much room to go and shop again up front without moving players on. And I don't see how they're going to recoup the money because they paid out big money.
Yeah.
You know, big money on these players.
But the way that squad's loaded by, I'll be honest, by a lot of our fan base, it's better than ours in many, many ways, as so many discuss. They should be much better. They should be much higher in the league where they are now. You know.
Yeah, it's amazing of it. A team that's set up not to lose games rather than to try and win games. Yeah. When you have a wobble like that, it's very hard. Do you know what I mean? Liverpool, we know, when you're an attacking team and you go a couple of games, or you have to, try and grind the things out, you'll do that. But when you're such an ultra defensive team, and that's not a dig at them, they play 3 at the back, 2 hold midfielders, fullbacks. If Reece James goes out, it's Aspilicueta going in there, who's essentially a centre back these days. It's a very, very rigid, and we've said this before. Tuchel sort of fell and stumbled into this. We don't know if that'd be his ideal formation or system that he'd want to play there. I don't think it is, but he's fallen into it, and it's hard to move away from that. And as you see, he's touched on the forwards. Lukaku, I mean, there was a lot of hype about Lukaku when he came in, and I don't know.
He always plays his best seasons was at Inter. But he had Lautaro Martinez as a front two. That's what he's really good at. He's not, and we said it, it wasn't being salty. It was, if you play just through the middle as the target man, it's not his game. Despite the fact he's a very big physical, that's not his game. That's not how he plays. He is a getting behind sort of striker. He's all linking up with someone.
He needs, as you've touched on, Lautaro Martinez to occupy the centre backs, and for them to somehow not be concentrating on him, even though he's huge. If they're tonight, if you have a Dan Bourne or something, and he can just sit on Lukaku, well, then he's essentially taking him out of the game. Yeah. So it's a weird one. But Brighton lads. Oh, go ahead, Chris, sorry.
And then Werner's just looks devoid of all sort of confidence. The move's just not work for him at all, is it?
I think Werner is a lesson in, we cry and scream for players that we're linked to, and without knowing about them, without seeing them, and they're not always what we as fans, without seeing them, expect them to be. And I think Timo Werner is one that he could have come to Liverpool and tore it up. He really could, because the wrong move can really set you back. The wrong manager, the wrong system, all of that stuff. But, it's all hindsight. We got Jota. I think we're happy we've moved on. We've got a super chat in here from Sim. Thank you very much. Tuchel to get the sack. It's so Chelsea to do it.
They wouldn't do it without the Champions League. They wouldn't do it without the Champions League.
You'd never know with them.
I wouldn't surprise they did in the summer.
I don't think there's a better option out there right now. That's the thing.
Bring Frank back.
Yeah, Rafa.
Rafa's free. He did well last time for him. He got the European trophy. Yeah,
Roman has brought back coaches before.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, though. It's you look around the continent. There isn't that many top managers out there. Free. I mean, look, I guarantee you, if they wanted to get someone, they'd get whoever the hell they wanted. But at the same time, they're in the Champions League. They've got. Who do they have? I can't remember who they got.
In the Champions League?
Yeah.
Did they get Atletico or something? No, United got Atletico.
United got Atletico, but
they got Lille, didn't they? Because they got Lille twice.
They got Lille,
yeah,
and that's not a gimme by any stretch. But I think as long as he's in the Champions League and in or around, he'll be okay this season.
He gets.
Also, but whether he lasts past the summer is another question.
They've still got a cup final, haven't they? So it wouldn't surprise if he goes in the summer. But I don't think they'll sack. I don't think they'll sack him beforehand.
Chelsea they're an irrational bunch, But look, Brighton lads, before we move on to some of the stuff, what do you think? Divock Origi up front for Brighton, does it work or does it not? Because they're a centre forward short of being a really good team, and I think Divock is a centre forward who, in the right setup, playing the right style, could get you 15 goals in all comps, 20 all comps. Is it a mad shout or what?
He's finished. He is a finisher, so they give him enough chances. The other thing we don't know with Divock, and we'll never know this, is when was the last time he played like a season? I think Klopp's first season. He was semi-regular then. He was playing 3 games in 4, and he did well. But it's only 4 years ago now since he's been playing regular. So that's the only thing for Brighton is he may have the attributes to do it, but you see this with sometimes players who've been regular subs. When they become the main man all the time, they might not be used to it. That's the only concern with him. But I think he's a better finisher than the lads they've got up front at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think that's a question. I was talking to Pete from this pod,
Pete Smith.
On Twitter, and he made the point straight away about what's his name,
Neil Maupay.
Yeah, and I mean there has to be a striker out there that would look at coming to Brighton in the £20 million range that knows that, look, if I do it here, I'm going to get a big move. Because I'm going to be playing good football and I'm going to be getting chances and I'm going to be scoring goals. And there has to be a striker out there, be it in Portugal, Spain, France, wherever. Brereton in the Championship at Blackburn is another one.
He's a great show for someone there.
There has to be a player out there that must be looking at their age and thinking, get me there. Because Brighton has also got to be looking at it. Look, we've got 50 million in the bank come the summertime with Basuma. We know that we can create an auction for him in the summer and he will go, he wants to move. We will get our money back in no time. But in the meantime, if we do something in this window, we could get into Europe, be it the Conference League or whatever. But the actual fact of being in Europe, it might be a bit of a detriment to the league, but it's progress to the club that's huge.
But
exactly.
But for a Brighton fan, and I don't want to say this disparagingly, it wasn't. Was it like 20 years ago they used to have shirts saying Skins? Because that's literally what they were. They were
Fatboy Slim, wasn't it? Fatboy Slim sponsored them. That was his record label, Skinned.
Yeah, so that's what they had because they could. They're looking to keep the club going.
Yeah,
they get themselves into Europe. That's for them. That's like not utopia, but that's kind of like that's us going to work. You look at Christ, where were we 20 years ago? We were playing League Two, winning. If we're going to have a club next week, now we're going to play.
Well, I think they had
whoever in Europa. Brilliant.
I think it was Hereford. It might have been at Hereford. They were playing the last game of the season. They had to win to stay in the league. It would have been around then. It was going back.
We saw similar with Swansea a few years ago when they had their one season Euro. I'm sure Swansea fans, I thought they wished they were still in the Premier League now. Love the fact that they've seen their club in Europe.
Yeah,
once you get your club to Europe once, it does help you attract the next level of player.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's a massive feather in the cap for the manager.
Yeah. Which at some point he'll want to move. He wants to move to a bigger club. But that will always be the question on Potter. But what can he do in Europe? Do we know?
Yeah,
because we don't know. So that'll be interesting what he does. That's probably what helped Gerrard get the Villa job. Is probably what he did with Rangers in Europe rather than what he did with Rangers in the league.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah, 100% is right. And Anthony H says, weren't Brighton close to signing Gonzalez? They were. Yeah, I thought they had a bid accepted by Stuttgart. I think he's gone to Fiorentina now. He's doing really well. He's a very good player in my opinion, Nico Gonzalez. And they're just that forward short, that striker short. We've another super chat here before we get stuck in from Dinesh Karoy. India, #1 in Test cricket. Well done. Evening. Do you think Liverpool can win the Premier League? We win our game in hand at 8 points. City lose a game. Tottenham or United will be 5 points and beat them 2 points. If LFC win all the games. Dinesh, I'm on record and I will continue to stay on record until it's mathematically impossible. We have a chance, and we're the only team that have a chance, in my opinion. City can drop points, anyone can lose. I watched Rocky Ford the other day, and Ivan Drago gets cut. Do you know what I mean? So anything can happen. Anything can happen. But the reality is Manchester City are an outstanding team, and it's going to be very difficult to see them dropping the amount of points. But as you say, we win our game in hand. We beat City. Ifs, buts, and maybes, and then you're looking for someone else. Chelsea was a game you would have hoping to see them, get a draw. So we're running out with games where, we're pinning our hopes on Ralph Rangnick's boys going up there and doing something as well. And I don't know how comfortable I am with that. But look, you never know. Stranger things have happened. But until it's mathematically gone, I will always, as far as I'm concerned, we're in the hunt for 4 trophies this season.
Yeah, I back that as well. I mean, look, if you're being realistic, you're probably looking at less than a 10% chance. But it's still a chance. And do you know what? What's the worst that could happen? You say, look, you've got a chance. You see what happens. If we don't do it now, well, what have we lost? Nothing really, because no one expects us to do it anyway. So just enjoy the ride. I mean, there was plenty of rotors off last year that we'd get nowhere near European spots.
Yeah.
We had to overtake 4 teams, and we still did it and finished third. Third. So strange things happen. But I understand why people are so pessimistic, because City don't look like it's ever dropped many points, and they haven't done since probably November time. They've kind of just gone on that run. That's kind of what they do.
City are the machine, and it's it's hard to see them dropping it. But until, you never know, stranger things can happen. Emmett says, if we were in City's position and them in ours, would you write them off? Not a hope. It's still all to play for. And maybe that's just it's in our
it's the thing is now, it's every game from now on is
a must win.
Yeah,
every game is a must win, and we have to go there and beat them.
Yeah,
it's not.
There's no excuses. If you don't do that, forget about it. And
all we can do is do what we can do, win our games.
Yeah,
be there if they mess up. If they mess up and we're not there, then we'll kick ourselves all the way into the end of the season.
Yeah. Whereas City at the moment can have the luxury of going. They could throw 3 games. What I mean, throw 3 games and go, listen, we'll play the kids in a league game. Just when we get beat, because we've got a big Champions League game. Whereas we've got to go. Got a big league game, big Champions League game. Can't do it either. You've just got to hope you can, players come through. I mean, some people in chat, it's good to see Harvey Elliott back for us.
Yeah.
He could be an option from March onwards.
Indeed.
I don't think he'd be a starter, but I think he'd be an option off the bench, because
depends
the long injuries come up from.
How the injury heals, I suppose, is key. Some people are saying that, with a dislocated ankle, you heal it up and then you're ready to go. And while it can always maybe pop out again, you can sort of get back to the level you are at. So it will be
the good thing for Harvey Elliott is he's not blisteringly fast, so he's not a player who relies on pace. So again, he can ease himself back in. He's not relying on his pace to get him into it. Did you see? Speaking of pace, did you see that article in the Athletic? Goal about Foden. I sought out this running coach who changed his running style and has got extra pace and yardage in it. Apparently, the same running coach said he'd love to work with Trent and Jones. He basically says, not that they're not great athletes, but he said he reckons he can do a slight tweak to their running style. I think he said for Trent, shorten his stride. He said shorten his stride. I said, I'll probably take 2 seconds off his running time.
Yeah,
which is scary
as well, didn't he?
Canate as well. Which when you think those guys are rapid already.
Yeah.
So,
but if you can give that edge, and that's something that Liverpool have looked to do in the past. They've always, throwing coaches and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I'm surprised he hasn't looked at in the past. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does go, if he hasn't talked to this coach at some point, or someone of his ilk.
I think if you can give Curtis Jones an extra yard of pace, I think it's what sets him out. And I'm a huge fan of Curtis Jones.
Yeah,
and I think if he just got that extra yard of pace, that he could just get away. Because I think his dribbling ability and his ability to keep the ball is excellent.
He just had that little spurs, yeah. But there's something like a Reece Williams, which is the opposite end of the spectrum. We all see him as particularly slow. He's not the most mobile. It's not going to make him Linford Christie, but it might make him just that yard quicker. That it just gives him that little extra bit of time and a little bit extra recovery pace. That's all you need, just that little bit extra.
Yeah. Speaking of pace and speaking of Liverpool, let's move on to some of the transfer links and rumours that are doing the rounds.
Oh, what a segue!
We won't start then with injury hit Renato Sanchez then, because that'll spoil me little segue. So we'll come back to him in a minute.
He runs to the treatment room. Yeah.
The Athletic came out there, James Pearce, talking about Liverpool maybe looking to the infamous in the summer, looking to add to the attacking options, and the player is likely going to be, under 25 and not the finished article, which I think we all know and understand. That's ideally, if you can sign a player at 23, the sweet spot for Klopp, by the time he gets them to 25, he has them where he wants them. But some of the players being linked, Chris, I'll let you run through some of the names there.
Yeah, so we've had Jarrod Bowen, Marcus Thuram, now Lang. Is that how you say it?
No Lang, yeah.
Hasn't
had a hit since Constant Craven. No Lang. It's one for the kids.
Okay, Christopher and Nkunku from Leipzig, and then Soleimani from Rennes. There's two other players, but I can't pronounce.
Cody Gakpo.
That's it.
Cody
and
Gakpo,
Amin
Gouiri.
That's it, Gouiri. Yeah. I didn't want to bastardize the names, but yeah.
I mean, those names, right?
It's quite a range. It's quite a range of
styles
where they're up to in their careers and price ranges. Because that's why Jarrod Bowen is probably the most expensive one on there because he's English and because of where he's coming from. Someone like a Soleimani, there's probably a deal to be done there potentially. But it kind of, I always think, I don't get too focused on these. It kind of gives you an idea of what Liverpool are looking at. I think that's always the closest you get now to an insider to Liverpool's transfer business is you kind of know what they're looking for. And it is just another wide forward. But, so, Jarrod Bowen, I want to say, is the most pacey, whereas some of the others are very pacey. That's the bit I can't quite decide.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, it's a wide variety of type of players there, but they are all young and they are all players that make an awful lot of sense that Liverpool would be looking at. And a lot of fans won't be too happy because they may not know who some of these are. But, Liverpool and FSG are going to look to attract. And Klopp, and let's make no bones about it, Jurgen Klopp wants players that are young and hungry and that he can mould into the world stars that he will make them. So what do you think of those names being mentioned?
Look, in fairness, I don't think there was any research or anything else done to put that list together. That's just a group of names that all play in similar positions. You could have added another dozen names to that list. For me, there's three that stand out.
Go.
Christopher Nkunku. I think if we were going to get him, we should have got him last summer because he's kicked on and he's really, really kicked on. He can play in midfield. He can play as an 8. He can play wide. He can play through the middle. His numbers in Germany for Leipzig this season are absolutely off the scale. Chris, I honestly think he'd be more expensive than Jarrod Bowen. I think you're talking 60 million quid for Christopher Nkunku at the minute. He's the only thing, I suppose, that he hasn't nailed down a position for France yet. When he does that, then you're putting him in the top tier of the one level below what you talk about as an elite transfer. He's the ready-made finished article for me. He's one that I would absolutely do if you can do it. Jarrod Bowen, at the right price, I think he could force a move. I think that's the only way that happens. He would have to force it to get a move through in the summer because I don't think West Ham will want to sell him.
Well, lads, a question for you. Sorry for cutting across.
Yeah.
Would you like Jarrod Bowen at Liverpool?
Would
you like, if you could do a deal, let's say they could do a deal for 40 million for Jarrod Bowen, would you like him in the team?
I would, because he gives you so many options, because I can see him playing as an 8.
Yeah. That's where I was going to come to. And I think we might have spoke about this.
We have, and I can definitely see him playing as an 8 or up front. He gives you so many options. I'd love to see what he'd be like on the left-hand side of a midfield 3.
Midfield 3, yeah.
Coming in on his right foot, I think he'd be somewhat special. The other one that I think is a bit of a wild card is Marcus Thuram. He plays on the left wing. He wouldn't be expensive, but he's a unit.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's ended up as being a left winger.
I was going to say.
He's quick, but he's a good 6'3".
6'4", I think he is. Yeah, he's a beast. He's a big
boy. And he will give you options across the front 3. And I don't think he would cost the earth. The others, I think, are in their breakout year, especially Soleimani. He's playing his first real season in France. Yeah, he went for decent money to France, but I still take Jeremy Doku over him, personally. But I want to see what he's like next year. Gouiri is another one. first real season. It's his breakout year. Could be anything. It's a gamble, but you've seen what happens when you see a player taken from their one breakout year in Camavinga, who's at Real Madrid.
Not gone
Real
from it.
Madrid are looking to pawn him off. You know, they paid 35 million for him on the strength of he's going to be the next big thing.
Didn't they also do to piss off PSG as well?
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I those are the three that I would take a punt on big time. You know,
Chris, what about
Chris
yourself?
Nkunku.
Yeah. The other benefit of Bowen is, I think KQ, we have talked about before, is I think you feel we need 2 midfielders and probably 2 attacking options plus a right back. The benefit of Bowen, you could sort of say he covers forward and midfield. So then you only need 1 midfielder, 1 forward plus a Bowen who can do both, and right back. So that's a way of stretching, because we don't know how much Liverpool will spend this year. It's a way of stretching your budget, and Klopp does like a flexible player. Plus, then it does allow. I mean, everyone talks about 4-2-3-1, which Klopp used to play at Dortmund. You can do that then with a Bowen as well. It gives you that another string to your bow. So I quite like him for his flexibility. I know he's not the most fashionable, and I know certain members of our fans base will moan and say, "Well, City wouldn't sign him, or Chelsea wouldn't sign him," but it's kind of what we need. We need more flexibility. You know, we aren't going to buy 5-6 players this summer. You know, I hate to break it to you, but we aren't. So.
I think we might, but however.
Yeah, I don't think we will. I mean, it might come to that because it might be a couple of third choice goalkeeper and
that's where I was going to sneak
a backup right back. I mean, ones who actually impact the first team.
The
ones who actually, a nice was where I couldn't give 2 shits to the third choice goalkeeper. You can sign whoever. I really couldn't care. You very rarely see him. Yeah, you very rarely see him. The only thing I would do with the third choice keeper is make sure he's English, just because then you got a homegrown diddle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're looking at max probably 3 to 4 lads who are going to affect the first team, that's not cheap if you want ones that are really going to affect the first team.
And if we look at them names that are getting mentioned, I think Glenn Parsons makes a good point there. Bone in and Ox going the other way. It's always a club that Ox gets linked with. And I'm a big fan of Ox, but it's a good comparison to put Ox there because I think Bone could do that job. Ox was a wide player and then wanted to go back into the midfield. And I think Bowen can do that on that left-hand side of the midfield, as Kev said, pushing in on his right foot. I think he'd be a very good option. I'd look at him as, you could play him in a front three if you needed, but I'd nearly look at him as another midfield player, and I think he'd be a very interesting one. He was one that when he first got linked, we all sort of turned our nose up and, maybe got a bit snobby about, Jared Bowen, Jesus, no. But he's kicked on, he's got something like 10 goals or 9 goals and 10 assists or something.
Yeah. Should have scored the weekend as well.
Yeah, and he's playing really well. He's playing out of his skin, and I'd agree with you, Kevin. Nkunku was one that I think he's gettable. I think he's, I think Leipzig will do a deal. I think you wouldn't have to pay through, the sun, moon, and stars for it. I think he would be expensive, but would he be good enough to force his way in the regular in our team? Would you see a situation where he can get into the front three, for example, or where he could push into a midfield three?
There's more chance, though, isn't there? Because you probably say Bobby and Manny aren't the level they were 2 years ago. Whereas 2 years ago, you look at that front three, going, you ain't got a chance. Whereas
it's not a case for me if he's going to kick in and start next season. I think he's nailed on to start by the end of next season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's that type of player for me. I think once you bet him in, I think he could be an absolute superstar in a couple of years' time. I think he's a very, very good footballer. He's got a good brain on him as well. He's very intelligent, and he gets around the pitch. He's not the quickest, but he's quick enough, and I think he'd be an exceptional talent for us. I mean, there was another player that we were linked with as well, was your man from Leeds, Calvin Phillips.
I was going to move on to him because El Nacional are linking us with him now. Anyone who watches Gav's daily shows will see El Nacional pop up all the time with outrageous links. We're going to pay Jules Koundé's release clause and all this, and every player just seems to get linked with us. But they're linking Calvin Phillips. Do you think there's any legs in Calvin Phillips?
I think there is, depending on what Leeds do this season. And I don't mean about going down.
Yeah.
I mean about, look, he's not getting any younger. if he has ambition to play European football, then he's not going to get it with Leeds. And if he wants to play, if Leeds want to get a return on him, this summer is the most money they will get for him because of the length he's got left in his contract. The longer that goes on, the next year and the year after, then the player becomes the one who's in control. But as it stands at the minute, I think he'd be long term. I think he'd be a Jordan Henderson replacement.
I think he needs out with Leeds. I've said this on shows before.
Yeah.
I think 3 years of pressing with Bielsa. Not everyone's a fan of Bielsa. I'm a huge fan of Bielsa. And now he's in England. He's in tournaments. You know, he's going off on international breaks. There's a lot of tiredness there. And I think Leeds maybe I don't think they'd want to sell him outwardly or publicly. But I think if you ask them the question, I think Bielsa would maybe love a younger, fresher player in there that will do that job, because I think you're going to pick up more injuries is what I think playing at Leeds. I think he needs out of there. And I think as mad as it sounds, he'd get that with us. You know, we don't play like we don't play as high intensity as we did.
No.
I just don't see him go for 33 million. I think because of the English culture, I think you're talking 50 close.
50,
and to me,
50, yeah.
that says Man United all over it.
100%.
Yeah. And in fairness, if you look at what United need,
he probably is what they need. To be
fair,
fair,
he is that type of player. Whether he would go there
because the Leeds Man United thing, that's where there's the question.
No, I'm just looking at the state of Manchester United.
Yeah,
money aside, United will pay top dollar and they will pay top wages and everything like that. If his motivation is money, go to Manchester United, fine, you're happy days. If his motivation is to be the best player he can be, and look, none of these players when they retire are going to put their hand in their pocket and feel the leg. Yeah. So, if he wants to go somewhere and win things, he'll come to us. Or have a chance of winning things. If he wants to get paid, he'll go to Manchester United. The other option will be Chelsea.
Or the third option is City, because Fernandinho's not getting younger. At some point, you do need. Yeah, I know Rodri's there, but they will want another holding midfielder when Fernandinho moves on.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Jono says, Phillips 60 million, Rice is valued at 100. No way, Leeds at 30, which is very fair. We've just said that.
Very fair, yeah.
But the interest in that Rice is in there because he's another one that will end up at one of those clubs if he wants out with West Ham. Yeah. Or West Ham want to cash in on him. You're looking at Chelsea, Man U, Man City.
I see £100 million, O'Keefe, and I see Declan Rice and £100 million. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
the game's gone mad.
Yeah, the football world needs to catch on to itself because there was one when I was looking at the transfer news earlier on today, right? There's one that piqued me interest was the Erling Haaland one to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Now, look, I think that's going to happen. The package for Haaland to Madrid is €239 million.
Yeah.
When you include transfer fee and wage package and bumps to whoever needs to be paid off.
Yeah.
It's obscene. And no matter how much of a TV boost you get, a TV revenue increase you get, no matter how much the gate receipts are, or the prize money for the Champions League, someone is going to go bust again. If football carries on at this ridiculous level, there is no way in God's green earth that Declan Rice is a £100 million player. Because if you go and paying £100 million for him, he's going to want to wages with parity with £100 million signing on fee. That makes the package more than what Haaland is going to be commanding.
Yeah.
Stop.
Exactly. I mean, look at
especially
Grealish.
When you look at the return. Look at Lukaku. We're ahead of Chelsea with 2 games in hand. And you look at what Chelsea have spent and what they've assembled as a squad. And we were crucified for not spending X, Y, and Z. It's spending money at an obscene level is not a guaranteed way to win titles or to win silverware, or to be competitive. It's getting the right player and taking the price tag. Look at Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka is a good, decent, solid fullback. You slap a £50 million price tag on him and you've destroyed him. Harry Maguire, decent, solid centre-back, slap a price tag on him, forget about it.
But the problem with Wan-Bissaka, we'll touch on this for a second. I know I said this before, and I'll say it again. He's a good player, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but he is not a modern fullback that the elite teams need now. Do you know? And he's a very good defensive. He's one of the best one-on-one defenders in England, if not Europe. He's excellent. But the game moves on, and you know, if you're a Manchester United, where you're supposed to be a top team, your fullback has to be playing most of the game, at least in the midfield third and in the attacking third. And if you can't cross a ball or you can't impact it in those areas, you're not set to that level.
It reminds me of Nathaniel Klein.
Very good comparison, yeah.
Yeah, it is actually.
Nathaniel Klein, when we signed him, and I was out there, this is the next Steve Finnan. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
And then the way we evolved under Klopp, we went, actually, every time we got the ball, every team went, let Klein have the ball. Because he basically said, we're not scared of his crosses. He's not going to take me on. So no one was scared of him. And that's why we had loads of problems. That's when Moreno, as much as everyone used to piss everyone off.
Yeah.
He was erratic. He had a decent delivery, but he'd go at you. And at least people go, well, when he's attacking, you've got to be aware of him. Klein, they were just like, let him have it. Everything was geared to give it to Klein. And to us, people don't know Wan-Bissaka. So when he does get a decent crossing, he gets everyone goes, oh, look, so you can do it. It's like, yeah, but 1 in 10 is not really what you want. It's just the way things evolve. It's just not what people want. But Wan-Bissaka could go to another top side. If he went to Italy, he'd probably do really well. He'd suit the Italian style of play. And actually,
Atletico Madrid or something, just stand there tackling people.
But that's what you've got to be a good player. Even you've got to play for Atletico Madrid. Trippier did it. So maybe for Wan-Bissaka, it's good player, wrong club or the wrong time. If he was at United 5-6 years ago, he'd have been perfect.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it falls out. I mean, in terms of Liverpool and business,
but the other thing as well, I think players younger players now are getting better at picking the right club, and I always go back to Jude Bellingham for the bravery it took to go to Dortmund and gamble. I mean, look, he went to Dortmund. Dortmund paid big money for him, 30 million. So that was huge for a kid.
The Sancho.
But, it was still a huge gamble on their part, but players are starting to get the grips now with picking the right player in the right club, and they'll hold up examples like Donny van de Beek. Donny van de Beek's a very good footballer, and it just shows you what can happen to a player if you pick the wrong club. It can be disastrous, and that's why I look at this window and I think, do you know what? I don't expect any player this window to move that we would be interested in.
Yeah.
Or that would improve our starting 11 to a state where you're going to be saying, okay, well, we could use him to come off the bench type of thing. I just don't see those type of players moving this window.
But I do get some of the frustration, say, for the summer, where I'll say even like the year when Liverpool won the league or the year after is, maybe that's where Liverpool should have been looking at a Bellingham and go, we're going to pay 30 million for a younger coming kid who basically he's not going to start for us for 18 months.
But I don't think he'd have wore that, Chris. That's the thing.
No, I'm not saying that Bellingham, but a player of that ilk where we go, we find that player and you groom that player ready for the Henderson replacement.
For example, would you go to Aston Villa now and throw down 30 million for Jacob Ramsey?
Yes.
I don't think he'd cost that much, but yeah, I'd like
it. You know what I mean? Is he an example of a player that's on the cusp of really breaking through and being a 50 million pound player?
If we sign Jacob Ramsey, people say like, oh, he doesn't start for it, he doesn't improve us. But in 2 years' time, you're going, Christ, Jacob Ramsey, what a bargain. Him as one of the eights.
They've done it again, type of thing.
That's your, almost like that's your Henderson replacement. That's your legs in midfield, but he's more of a goal getter. And Henderson then becomes your Jimmy Milner. Yeah, that's your squad involvement from one player that you bypass. I mean, in some ways, Harvey Elliott has become that.
Yeah,
we hope
that's true.
Which is
we hope indeed.
Yeah, we bought him the year after we won the Champions League and went, it's a kid, big deal. But now it's working out 2 years later. We just haven't done enough of those probably in the last 2-3 years. If we had, maybe there's some we're looking at buying a wide forward and a midfielder rather than two forwards and 2 midfielders. It's just a matter of cutting your cloth cord, but also spreading the load. And that's probably where we need to go.
Right, before we move on, lads, LFC Aaron throws in a super chat. Thank you very much. Great show, guys. See Naby's goal earlier. Cracker.
Yes,
Yeah,
great
cracker.
goal.
He's scored better for us this season.
He doesn't do tap-ins, does he?
No. Do you know what? He's been excellent in the AFCON. And it's, the pride that a player takes when he's playing, when he's carrying his nation's hopes, because he is their main man. He takes the responsibility.
I think he's
suspended as well.
He's suspended.
Yeah,
he's suspended in the next round. I don't know who he play.
Which in some ways could be a good thing for us.
Yeah.
Because he might, potentially he might not play.
Yeah.
As in, like, they won't get through. So we could be in a nice situation where he's a bit rested before.
There's been some shocks as well today. Ghana's gone.
Yeah,
Ghana's gone out.
Ghana were terrible in the tournament.
So that's
Comoros has gone through, I think.
So that's Partey coming back soon. Algeria finished bottom. So that's Mahrez coming back soon. That's two.
That's major shock, man, because they won it last year. They were second favourites.
Yeah. So, Senegal, who are the favourites, have won 1, drawn 2 0-0. So it's not really got going.
Yeah.
Egypt haven't been great, really.
No.
So the only one who's looked good is Cameroon.
Yeah, indeed.
And I hope it's starting to bubble up now, because you've seen a bit more.
Knockouts normally do, don't we?
Yeah, you've seen a bit more open football in this round.
A lot of 1-0s in the first batch, wasn't there? And then you're getting more goals now.
And I think once you get into the knockouts, I hope that once you get into the knockout stage, it doesn't revert to, back fives, take it to extra time and all that kind of stuff. I'm hoping it kicks on, but we'll see. We'll see next week.
Right. Now, enough of that. As we have to comment up there, please like, subscribe, comment, share across all your social media platforms. It really helps us because it puts our shows out to a lot of people and new people that may or may not be interested. We enjoy, we like what we do here, and we think it's good quality stuff. So the more we share, the more we get out, and throw your comments up and throw comments after the show, and any feedback is always taken on board. It's always welcome. We're big boys on this channel. We can take a bit of constructive criticism, not a problem. So anyone, just let us know if there's anything we can do to change it. But like, subscribe, do all the good stuff as well, and it does really helps us out an awful lot. But lads, there's a lot of other links of clubs, and we touched on Jacob Ramsey there, but Aston Villa are the club that are getting linked with an awful lot of players naturally. Gerrard goes in there. They're not afraid to spend money, and they're linked with Luis Suarez. So Chris, what do you make of the Suarez link to Aston Villa? Does it make sense here? Is it one that you can see happening? What do you think?
I think he's going to buy Aspas next and get the 13-14 squad back together, isn't he? Martin Skill's coming soon. I suppose he makes sense in terms of they want a bit of experience. He could be a good option for the last 20 minutes. Maybe they're looking to move on one of Watkins or Ings. But I think Suarez's best years are behind him because he hasn't scored masses for Atletico this year, and he is starting to pick up a lot of injuries, which is always a thing of Suarez. He never got injured. He always got suspended, but he never got injured. The only thing I would say, it feels like a bad move for Gerrard, because look, people don't want to talk about it, but we know what he was like at Liverpool. We know the shitstorm he caused off the pitch and on the pitch at Liverpool. Do you really want that association coming back with you again? It puts an unpleasant light on your club, and it puts stupid pressure on yourself, because you know the baggage he brings with him, and you know the media shitstorm you'll bring with him. It just feels like you're creating a problem that you don't need. It's all going quite well. It's all going nicely for Gerrard, ups and downs. To me, I don't think it's the right move. I think Kev, you say that offline. Best move for Suarez is go to America, because he'll want to play every week and he's not going to be fit enough to play every week now for Villa. But in America, he'll be sound.
Well, Morton says there, if Suarez goes to Villa, he'll play 100%. Well, you see, that's the thing. I think you want to play. You want to be in that team all the time.
I don't think his legs let him do it, and I don't think he'll accept being rotated, because his legs have to be. He's rotated now for Atleti because he can't cope it. And
look at Ronaldo. Even look at Ronaldo at Manchester United. He's playing every game. It's to the detriment of that team, and the thing about Aston Villa, it hasn't worked out with Danny Ings for me and Watkins. That just hasn't. One or the other. They didn't need to bring in Ings, but they did. And if they're going to stick with that, then I don't see why Suarez comes into the mix.
They'd be better buying another exciting wide forward.
Yeah.
And just telling Ings and Watkins, you're fighting for the number 9, and I've got 4 wide lads who are going to cover the other 2 wide positions, and let them fight it out. That'd be better. You know, it'd be more scary playing Villa and you got Watkins and Ings coming off the bench with 20 to go, because you're like, because you would be like, I don't need that. You know, when we've got everyone fit, we play our front 3 and you bring Jota off the bench. You can see teams go, fucking hell. You know, don't need that coming off the bench. Whereas at the moment, we're bringing Minamino off the bench. It doesn't scare people.
Yeah, I don't see the upside for Gerrard in this. He's already fighting with Simeone. Apparently, he and Simeone had a big falling out on the touchline after a game with Seville, and he scored 9 goals this season in not the best La Liga you've ever seen. In a dominant side, you expect more. The only links I saw for Luis Suarez earlier on today were before this stuff with Villa blew up, where I don't know where it came from, was a link to Inter Miami, because Blaise Matuidi is either going to retire or come back to France, and the MLS, you're allowed a certain amount of foreign players, and apparently Beckham wants to make Suarez his marquee signing in the summer, and that would make sense for all concerned, because he'll play enough games to keep him fresh for the World Cup. That's his main ambition, is to go to the World Cup and then probably retire for Uruguay. I don't see him playing in the Premier League. He's just not fit enough. We saw it when he came back to Anfield, and he was a shadow of what he was. He didn't scare anyone. He didn't terrorize anyone. He's not Luis Suarez. He's not the Luis Suarez we remember. He's so far removed from that now.
It was pantomime Suarez, wasn't it? It was like all the pantomime stuff without any of the punch. You know, it was.
And I don't see the upside of Gerrard. The Coutinho one is. I get
points perfect.
Yeah. For Gerrard as a manager, getting players you used to play with might not be the best way to prove yourself. It's not. It would be a terrible move for him. I can understand the Coutinho move to a point, because look, Barcelona are still paying a good chunk of his wages. If it works, you've got a very good player. Odds are it won't, because you look at his injury record for the last 2.5 years. It tells you that he probably in 2 months' time he will have broken down again.
Yeah.
But while you've got him and available on the pitch, he'll get the crowd up, and he'll bring others into play. He's a good option to have, but I don't, for the life of me, see at the end of the summer, Villa's forking out 33 million quid for him. I just don't see it.
Doesn't make sense. No, Barry definitely makes a good point. If Gerrard wants to go for next player, he said Ryan Kent. That's probably more would work for Villa, because they need probably another wide option. And Ryan Kent did really well for him at Rangers, and I think he's probably looking for a step up. That might actually work better.
I wonder if he's been warned off signing Rangers players
probably till the summer. But there'll be some players that probably want to move as well.
Hadji is another one at Rangers that I thought would have moved on by now.
Yeah,
no, if he's a shadow of what his father was.
Oh,
he's a decent player, but if he's a patch on what his dad was, my God.
Yeah, he was quality. We could do a show on him, George.
Oh, definitely.
A show on that. 2-hour job on him alone.
Go and watch Italia 90 and watch Ireland against Romania. It was 0-0, and it went to penalties, and we went through. But just watch it for what Hadji does in that game. He was just levels.
So his 3 feet, little hills is all he had.
Red Steve's comments got me laughing.
Which was
said like
in the blue shirt with red cape doesn't have to be right of the young Superman.
There you go.
Maybe a fat Superman, don't buy a young Superman.
Don't do yourself down. Don't breathe it in. Doing that
breathe it in.
Yeah, that's it.
Can't breathe that.
Carl Robinson has a good comment there. I think you had it up there a minute ago. Villa still want Basuma. Look, I'm convinced that Brighton come the summer will create an auction.
Yeah,
and he'll go to wherever he wants to go to. He won't be short of suitors, and
I'm sure he'll do well at Arsenal when he signs for them.
I think he's made it clear last summer, didn't he, that he wanted to go to Arsenal. Why he didn't go is anyone's guess. But maybe
probably has a bit of a shit show. Probably I don't know. Best off in Brighton.
but he won't be short of admirers, us included. But I think Brighton won't be letting him go anywhere until the summertime.
And it's we talk about Brighton. They've got Enoch Mwepu in there, scores against us at Anfield. I think they've got a midfield. They don't even. It's not like they need to find a replacement for him. Their recruitment has been very good of late.
Yeah.
They're in an enviable position that for a lot of clubs that we've seen in the past, clubs have done. You're not selling a player and having to replace him. They've got the.
Well, you look at Ben White. They sold him for 50 million.
Exactly.
They bought Webster for 25 from Bristol City. Dan Byrne, who's a 6'8" left back, converted into a third centre back. That was just the weirdest thing you've ever seen in football. I swear to God. Can you imagine Peter Crouch playing at fullback? Yeah. But it's just like.
Do you remember Rafa played Peter Crouch left wing?
Yeah, you still got Lewis Dunk there, and you still got Shane Duffy there as well. So to be able to turn around a 50 million pound turnaround player and not miss him. I thought the best bit of business Brighton did last summer was Veltman. You came through the Ajax system, you got the Ajax education, you're picking up this kid for 850 grand. That was just a snip. You know what I mean? Solid, dependable,
can play multiple positions,
can play £1 million. What are you doing?
Can't go wrong.
Just goes to prove these players are out there if you're willing to play at that level.
That's it.
That's the gamble you can take when you're probably 15th looking to break into the top 8.
But when you're a well-managed and a well-coached team, you can bring in a player of that quality and get the best out of them. Where there's some teams in the Premier League would look at bringing in a Veltman and they're not playing football. And if you come up through Ajax and the Dutch systems, you're used to playing ball. And then you can come into England and you're playing, boom, air ball. And it's a different game. And they struggle. They do struggle. LFC Aaron throws in another super chat. Thank you very much. Thoughts on Karim Adeyemi and Jonathan David? Two very exciting players. Two players that have been linked with us. So I think Adeyemi's been strongly linked with Dortmund for a while, hasn't he? Like, I thought that was...
There's talk is that he was approached by English clubs. Liverpool's name was name dropped in there, and that he turned it down because he wants to stay. He wants to go to Germany.
He wants to go to Germany,
yeah.
I mean, does the German national team, there's positions there for grabs. They're looking for the new, they're looking for a forward, I suppose, that they can pin their hat on. I don't know if this lad is it. He's still very young. He's got a lot to prove, but he's a very exciting player, and he's one that it'll be watching with interest where he goes. I don't think it'll be us. I think he will go to Dortmund. I think that's where he's going to go when they sell Haaland. I think that's going to be their move. And whether they can bring him in there and he won't be, the one. Daniel Malin might be the one they look to stand in there and then give Adeyemi a year.
He's not really kicked on, has he?
No, he hasn't.
Because there was a lot of fuss about him. I can't believe Dortmund have got him, and he hasn't quite lit it up like you thought. I mean, Dortmund, especially in the Champions League, were very disappointing.
Yeah,
I think Dortmund have got issues, but their issues really aren't up front. Their issues are at the back. When you got Emre Can playing at the back,
Emre Can and Mats Hummels,
I mean, the two of them would turn quicker than the Titanic, Titanic would turn quicker than them.
But
Adeyemi could end up back at Bayern.
Do you think
he was rejected at Bayern? He left Munich. He's from Munich. He's Munich boy. His family are still there. The other interesting one is Jonathan David. Moved last summer, got injured. Then it never really happened for him last season, but this season he's done really well. He'd be a very interesting one for us if we were looking for a number 9. If Divock went and you're looking for a 9, that could come off the bench, or if he was starting games, you wouldn't be too fussed about it. The problem is with him, he's not a come-to-feet kind of striker. He's an in-behind type of striker. He's strong, but he's, I think he's probably about 5'11", 6 foot, but he's strong and he can get in behind. But I don't think he comes the other way as well as what we would want. But he would be interested.
Yeah, I'd rather splash if we could, I'd rather splash the cash and go for someone like a Vlahovic.
Yeah,
apparently Juventus are now looking at it and saying that's the only player they'll splash the cash on. I think quite a few will look at him. I mean, we said before, whoever doesn't get Haaland is probably looking at him.
It's a good segue. Yeah, Vlahovic. Let's talk about Vlahovic. He is one that I think he wants to stay in Italy, doesn't he? It's Inter and Juve are the teams. I think he's actively come out and said they're my first choices. Now Arsenal seem to think that they're, still in the hunt. They're the main driver, and they could be, because I think they're going to throw silly money. They're going to look to replace Aubameyang, and I think they're gonna go big on Vlahovic. I don't think we're going to be in the Vlahovic sweepstakes.
No, we should be though, but we're not going to be.
I don't know if we should be.
I think
we should have been, and I think maybe the summer was when we should have been. Well, even though he's kicked on this season.
But in the summer, his price was going up and up and up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because originally it depends. So we all thought that the rumor was it was 30-40 million, which looked a reasonable price, and then after the summer, then he got to like 70.
Well, that's yeah.
So that's
that's the rumor that's going around. Apparently, that he's agreed personal terms with Juve 2 months ago. Look, we don't know. Nobody knows. The thing is, you got to understand, with these players from Eastern Europe, Juventus are their Manchester United because of the players from the past from Eastern Europe, the former Yugoslavia.
Zibi Boniek from Poland.
Exactly. Who's played in the Italian Serie A and played for the big clubs. They grew up watching Italian football. They grew up idolizing these clubs. So it's a big lure for these players. Arsenal know that if they're going to get him, they have to get him now, because they won't get him in the summer, because the auction.
I think they know we're not going to get him. I think,
but it does appease the fans for now, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's a PR thing. The whole Lamar thing with the outbidders for Lamar. Yeah. Or bid 90 for Lamar, and they shit the bed when they said because luckily basically if there wasn't enough time to get the deal done, never went back in for him. But look, we went in for him. We bid 90 million. I do wonder if some of that's a bit of an appeasement, and then the striker they're going to bring in comes, which isn't Vlahovic.
Yeah.
But if we try for him again, so we got this guy instead.
But it's interesting on Arsenal, like they're trying to sign Arthur as well from Juventus. And the money there is fucking huge. It's astronomical money as well.
Because he's on crazy wages, and he's been embroiled in the controversy with the dodgy moves with the Pjanic stuff.
Yeah, well, that was
for me. That's when you walk away from a mile away.
Yeah.
The other big wage one. Did you see the story with Barcelona with Ousmane Dembele? Where apparently Xavi, his jaw dropped when he saw what the demands that the player was making.
Was he looking for something like 750,000 a week?
Something ridiculous. And he's basically, apparently they're going to have one last throw of the dice to talk to their representatives, but he's out the door on a free this summer. And I'll tell you what, wherever he ends up, he's a bag of trouble, man. Wherever he ends up, good luck to him. I just pray to God he doesn't end up anywhere near us.
He's an excellent player, but I think is the injury record and the attitude, of he wasn't going training. He was just bad news. It seemed to be coming out constantly about him.
Everything about that stuff feels like a red flag, doesn't it? You would be. I mean, Ian Matthews just put up, we should go for Lautaro Martinez if only.
Oh yeah,
you both said in the summer. I'd rather have Chelsea to go for him instead of Lukaku.
Yeah,
got a feeling that Barcelona probably will go for him, or Atletico.
Yeah, but Atletico will. Yeah.
See, the other links that were there in the week was Depay maybe going to Italy this window, but it's a case of finding a club to take him and getting Morata or someone in coming the other way. There's a few other stuff. Apparently, Hazard turned down Newcastle. £41 million was tabled. So
let's talk about Newcastle then.
Yeah, let's get
there. Just show just because you got all the money doesn't mean they'll come. You've got to. There's also got to be I think for that level of player that they don't need to go to a Newcastle. They can get the same money somewhere else. Newcastle should be looking at the one that's like a tier or two tier below.
Yeah.
City second time round got it right. They already had company because I think Mark Hughes brought him in. But then they started bringing in players who were like just ready for the next levels. You know, they bought David Silva, who was a very good player for Valencia, was probably looking for the next move. So they went for him. You know, Aguero was just ready for the next move. You know, wasn't the elite Aguero he became. He was probably that tier below, a bit like we did with Sadio Mane and Salah. Yeah. That's what they should be looking for.
Kevin De Bruyne as well.
Kevin De Bruyne.
He was on to something big, but wasn't maybe at that stage.
It hadn't worked out. He'd gone away to Wolfsburg, done well at Wolfsburg, and then went, "Oh, we'll take a risk." And look, there's loads of quotes at the time with people said, "Oh, they've overpaid for him," but that's kind of what they needed to look for. Yeah. Newcastle, to me, this year just needs to be buy your Trippiers, buy your Chris Wood, buy players that'll keep you up. Next summer, look for the players that are going to get you to close to a European spot or just outside of it. And the following year, get you on a European spot. Build it that way. You're not just going to go bang the old Abramovich thing of we're going to get these players, because Abramovich had the benefit of they were already in Europe and they were in London.
Yeah.
Newcastle have either of those factors at the moment. And from the sounds of it, look, Newcastle don't really have a structure behind the scenes yet.
No.
Because of what all left for by Mike Ashley, which was nothing.
Yeah.
So I think,
and they're trying to just get them. They're trying to fill in them holes at the moment, and they're just going very scattergun. And Cahill puts up there, you know, I see Diego Carlos is going to Newcastle 29. They should be going younger. And he was one that was linked with us. And
Martin Skirtle, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very rash. You know, he's a very, very rash centre back. He's going to pick up red cards, I think, in that league. But why is he scabby to go to Newcastle? Why is he desperate to go there?
Seville's still in Europe.
Yeah, and Sevilla are pushing the top sides in Spain as well. I mean, look, they've been trying to sign a left-sided centre back.
Yeah,
they've been linked with three: Marcus Sensi, Diego Carlos, and Attila Zlazi from Fenerbahce. Zlazi. All three linked with Newcastle. Botman has turned them down. I honestly expected Newcastle to be further down the line.
Yeah,
at this stage of the window, because they bought the club, and I honestly expected more. I expected a director of football to have his ducks in a row by the third week of January. That you just went boom, boom, boom. You're in, you go in, and you move in, and they just seem to be hitting brick walls in certain types of player. They overpay. I mean, look, Wood. The Wood deal is ridiculous. Look, he probably couldn't believe his wet dream all came through at once.
I think the Wood deal is we've got a body in while Wilson is injured. If we go down, Wood would get you out the championship.
But it's still 25 million quid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But for the money they've got and the money they haven't spent for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I get that.
Do you think they should be going a bit more heavy on the transfer phase? Like, do you think they're trying to be, clubs now, look, you are 10 times richer than PSG and Man City combined, lads. Yeah. Do not come in here and try and undercut us. So, they got Chris Wood because they paid the release clause or played, got that done.
To be fair, it's what City done for the last.
And that's what I was going to say. Is it just a case of going in and taking players, saying, look, what are we going to pay? We're going to boom, 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 build your team. As Kev said, they're a little bit behind where they thought they'd be. They need to rebuild that defence.
They're running out of time.
If they had a proper director of football, you'd like to think they probably would have had a scout list of players going, look, lads, these are defenders we know have got buyout clauses. So do you like any of them? Or like his buyout clause 45 million? Let's go and get him.
Yeah,
done. We don't have to haggle or tit around with, not looking at getting rid of it. He had a buyout clause. We paid the buyout clause because we need a centre back. And most people go, "What's expensive? That's the buyout clause. It's done."
Yeah. Get them done early, and then just fucking build your, get yourself settled for the running.
But maybe buy less attractive players. Look, we all joke about Nat Phillips, but buy someone like that. He's probably better than the centre backs you've got, who will at least do you the job, even if it means you've got to fuck him off in 6 months' time. Nat Phillips won't care. He'll get a payday, and so be it. At least that's someone who's played the Premier League, done well when he's played in the Premier, and let's face it, he played in the Liverpool side that had no defence, so he'd be used to it at Newcastle.
Yeah,
because it's the same situation for him.
Yeah, I just expected them to be. I expected them to have 3-4 signings done, dusted by now. I mean, the Trippier one, no brainer.
I think next week's probably the most telling week because all the European lads have now got 10-day break.
Yeah,
After this weekend, if you're obviously going to try and sign a South American player or an African player or an Asian player, that's going to be more challenging because they're going to be in qualifiers or still at the AFCON, which is why I don't believe Liverpool are looking at Luis Diaz, because if we're going to get him, you would have had to get him this week because you're not going to get him next week because he'd be away with Colombia.
he'd be gone, yeah.
You know, I mean, you can still do them on international breaks, but it's just such
you're making it harder for yourself. Like,
for the sake of
why
it,
would you? Either you want the player or you don't. So you do.
And
it
also,
when it's convenient.
why would Porto then sell him with a few days left in the window? Because we found that with Coletta Car last January.
Yeah,
put a £22 million bid in, and they said you have to wait till we can't find anyone to replace him. So sorry, do without.
Yeah,
you know,
but they're in a position where they're trying to be too clever, I think, in their transfers. And Kev, I agree with you. I think they're going to run out of time in what they can do. I don't think they're going to do enough, and they could be in trouble. But as a lot of people have pointed out, Wood was a tactical move. It took a striker off a relegation rival, and we keep saying that it is true. It is true. Yeah. Well, lads, we won't stay much longer, right? So we're just going to run through some of the other rumours, some of the quick ones that we go through, because I want to leave the Leeds one till the end. Manchester United linked with a friend of ours, John McGinn. What do we think of that? Bullshit, or does it have legs?
I think it's bullshit.
I don't see it.
It makes too much sense.
I don't think. Yeah, I'm not sure it's what they need.
The other side was apparently Pogba is in talks with PSG for a move in the summer.
That I could believe.
That won't surprise anyone. Yeah.
He's free to United. Look,
he's a very good player. I just don't think
he's better than Fred, and he's a left-footed central midfielder. So,
but he improves the squad. Energy. He improves the squad, and maybe he's the type of signing that they need right now to give them a bit of energy and drive in midfield. Apparently, talks broke down as well with Bruno Fernandes. All's not well with his renegotiations for his contract, so that's one to keep an eye on for down the road.
Lovely.
Didn't Martial reject the move to Spurs?
You read me mind there. Martial, some neck, hasn't he? Rejecting a move anyway. Get out of there. Go to your career.
I think he wants to go. He wants to go abroad. He wants to get out of England.
How does a manager say a player refused to make himself available for him? The player denies it, and they said, "Oh, I've held to clear the air talks. It was a miscommunication." And like, it's a bit fucking bold.
Ranieri's English is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's a bit fucking bold to just say he did make himself available. The player goes, "I didn't say that." Oh yeah, sorry, it's a misunderstanding. Some fucking misunderstanding that. I think if you got to throw a player under the bus like that, you've got to pretty well make sure your ducks in a row before you throw that out there. I mean, Martial's problem been talked about for a while, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But Martial's problem is there's not many clubs on the continent that can pay what United want. Plus the wages that he's going to command.
Yeah,
I know people say we always talk about wages, but this is the problem United have got. This is why the likes of Phil Jones and that are still at the club is even if they want to move them on, people can't afford to pay the wages and United just don't want to pay him off. So
not only that, if you're paying,
it's a fine-edged stud.
Martial's on well over $100,000 a week, isn't he? He's
easy,
way over that. So if you're looking for a team, there's not many teams, not many elite teams, I suppose, will take Martial, and then you're looking at the teams that will take him that are going to pay that money. He's probably not stupid, and he's like,
"Whoa, Martial's on $250K a week."
Wow, there you go, game over. That was a good show, lads.
But you know what I mean? Seville might make a right move. Seville aren't paying them that.
No.
So
he's going to have to seriously reduce his wages if he wants
to pay
his
wages. He's going to have to buy his contract out, or he's going to have to get United to terminate his contract and pay him off, or it's going to be one of those stupid loans where United are paying 200 and he's getting 50 off them, which United can afford to do. Of course they can.
Yeah, but it shows the danger of giving big contracts to players that aren't worth it, and it's a dangerous game. And I'm not going to turn this into Liverpool and Mo Salah around, but it shows what can happen to a club when you put a player, and again, I'm not talking about Salah here, but when you put a player on a contract that's so far above what they're worth, you cannot shift them. You know, you cannot, and we're seeing it time and time again with these players. Again, I'm not talking about Liverpool in any way, shape, or form.
But the Salah one's different because we're all, I think most fans and everyone's in agreement going, well, if Liverpool do offer him 350 grand, 400, no one's batting an eyelid. Someone's going, but he's done it for the last 3 or 4 years, and he looks like he'll still do it.
Exactly.
Martial, he scored a goal against us against Skirtle. You know, he hasn't done enough for me. So you know that's where it looks soft. Where you're going like, does he really warrant that? But again, look, everyone's model's different. But yeah, that's the issue they've got to have now. Is Martial? You got an unhappy player who wants to leave, but no one can afford it.
Yeah, indeed.
Spurs apparently are looking to shift on Ndombele, Dele Alli, Bergwijn, and Matt Doherty.
Yeah.
I'm talking is Newcastle Everton want Ali, don't they?
Yeah, the Traore links aren't going away, and Wolves have signed a young Portuguese under-21 winger. In this window, £2.9 million. Don't know much about him, but look, we'll see what the story is there. But if he's already played for Portugal under 21s, he might be half decent. You never know.
But again,
Chiquinho.
It could free up a move for Traore going to Spurs, but it also gives Wolves
to play wing back though, isn't it? It's not to play wing; it's to play wing back.
It's to play wing back, but it gives Wolves a cushion then to be able to say, okay, well we don't have to sell Ruben Neves now. We can, you know, it gives them a bit of a comfort cushion that they can.
He's basically
hold on to some of their other players.
They're trying to Traore into Victor Moses.
Yeah,
pretty much, isn't it? That's the plan. But listen, pace wise, you know, getting up and all that, he'll do fine. Defensively, I haven't seen enough from defensively to know if that's a good move or a bad move. But he's not renowned for a great final ball, though, is he?
No. I'd say if he's chipping in those floaty crosses for Harry Kane to run onto, might be all right.
Might be.
But it does make sense in the sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
It does no really big clubs are going to take a damn at Traore, and fans will scream out, "Oh, get a damn!" But Kev, you're right. The floaty crosses, you know, they're not for us. Do you know what I mean? And despite he can roast Robbo every time you play him or whatever, but I just don't. I'm not a fan of a damn at Traore. I think he's for less than 20 million. He's a good impact sub to have, but only to sort of be helter-skelter. You're not going to get much end product. It's like throwing a blatant grenade in somewhere just to throw a bit of scatter in, and you know, I don't know if we're at that sort of thing. But it's a big meal for him. But
the interesting one for me there in that group is Ndombele, because they paid 60+ million for him.
Yeah,
and it feels an awful lot like Bakayoko. There was at Chelsea that's now at AC Milan. That's what that feels like. That's a very expensive. It feels like
Aquilani for us.
Yeah, it's a very expensive.
I think he's going to be permanent on loan now until his contract ends at Spurs. Yeah, he'll just go to a different Italian club every year. Like Aquilani
very highly rated when they bought him.
It's just not worth it.
Said it was, you know, he was the one over our that was, you know, get out of that Leon.
I watched a Spurs podcast, and it's not anyone that would have been on here, but it was a Spurs podcast. And the guy actually said that he was the most intelligent footballer the Spurs ever had. And I sat to, I just thought, you've had Glenn Hoddle at your club, mate.
Yeah.
You've had Ozzy Ardiles at your club. You've had David Ginola at your club. Yeah. You've had Luka Modric at your club. And you've signed this guy on 67 million quid, and you're telling me he's the most intelligent footballer you've had at your club. I was laughing. I was nearly in tears coming down my eyes. I thought,
macho.
That's one you definitely. That's the hill you just like. Yep.
Yeah.
If that's the one you want to die on, crack on, kid.
Yeah, Christian Eriksen, Moussa Dembele, you know, all these players that were really, really clever players, and they're going on about Tanguy Ndombele. No chance on that one. Before we finish up, I read, Steve, how many times can Keith say not talking about Salah? Well, that's because people will think I'm saying
in one sentence.
People will think I'm saying, you know, don't pay Salah, he's not worth it. wasn't saying that. I was just using the example. I was just using the example that you give these contracts out and they fucking come back and haunt you very quickly, for players.
That's why I really like our incentive-based contracts, because our wage bill is one of the highest in the league when you add it all up. But the reason is because of the success on the pitch.
Yeah.
And the players have all signed these contracts knowing that. So at the end of the day, I'd rather be in that position where you're challenging for stuff and pay them the wages they earn, grand. But I'd hate to be in the position where that's your wage bill and you're an eighth.
Yeah. Well, see, that's
a scary
thing.
Barry Devlin's got your bank to right there, Keith.
No, he's talking shit. We had well more than 12 players, and that's a fact. 12. I'm not playing FIFA here, Barry. It's 16. Zoko asked what the short is. What the short tonight? Santos. Going for a
Brazil,
Santos short.
Pele,
Neymar, Robinho to a lesser extent.
A little bit.
Before we finish up, boys.
Yes.
Brenden Aaronson being linked with Leeds. Leeds have had 2 bids, I think, rejected.
2 bids rejected.
This is an interesting one. Kev, what do you make of Brenden Aaronson possibly going to Leeds? Is he a player that you're familiar with, and do you think Leeds is the right move for him?
A little bit because of Avi. Because Avi was mad into him.
Is he American?
Avi's mad into American players anyway. Any American players that play in Europe, Avi's mad about him. But I've watched him a bit, not a lot, a little bit, but not a lot. But it's ballsy from Leeds to throw down a £15 million bid for a young American with potential.
Yeah.
And the thing is with them, Salzburg drew Bayern in the Champions League, and that allows them to say no to these kind of deals in the same way as we were told no for Konate last January.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Being in the knockout stages of the Champions League with that kind of prize money and that TV revenue coming in allows a club like Salzburg, who are run to within an inch of his life pretty much perfect, not on a high wage bill, not on anything like the wage bills of the Premier League, to be able to turn down these offers, knowing that if he does well against Bayern and carries on his progression, that money will still be there down the line. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. It would be a very good move for Leeds, really would, and it's something Leeds need. Leeds need to add 1 or 2 in this window desperately.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one to watch.
Arsenal Fan Circle channel says he's watched Aaronson in person 3-4 years ago. He's a class player, great vision and hungry. He's a very quick player as well, and Leeds seeing that, Dan James has gone in there to pay a lot of money for Dan James. He's a quick player.
His end product isn't there.
His end product isn't there, and that's, Aaronson. What was the guy that Norwich on? Josh Sargent. They thought he might have been.
A couple of years ago, he was highly rated in Germany. He'd done pretty well, and it was a gamble. I don't think Norwich paid big money for him, but I think Norwich, if they go down or when they go down, he'll be one of the players that will fire them back up. Because
aren't Norwich only points off getting out of relegation zone, though?
That's the thing.
That bottom three's meant.
It's just the way it's so contested with the fixtures pile up. It's obscene what's going on down there at the minute.
I mean, Burnley have got 17 games in hand, so
Yeah, they have to play them sometime. Yeah.
What happened to just getting on with it? It's amazing, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, it's the tones have changed somewhat over the last while.
Yeah, I've seen another David Moyes talking about fixture lists and player welfare not being looked after, and the press are going, he's got a point,
Yeah.
I wonder where. I'm sure I heard that. One thing quickly, Everton. Jose Mourinho.
Brilliant. Where's me cat?
Jose Mourinho is the latest victim to be turned down with the poison chalice.
He's turned down, isn't
he? Yeah,
of course.
What the hell are they doing?
Let's talk about this.
But isn't Mourinho still getting his contract paid by Spurs?
Yeah, Mourinho's a very smart man.
So Mourinho, I can live in Italy, enjoy life in Rome, getting 2 wages. What the fuck would I go back to England and have all that stress?
Yeah, Dublin's finest. That's a good shout, actually. Haidara was linked over the weekend with move to Manchester United. He'd be interesting, actually, because he's decent. Wouldn't say he's on the level of Nkunku, nowhere near.
No,
but he's very industrious centre mid.
Yeah, he's very good. He's a player that I like as well. And is it just a case of, Red Bull, putting Red Bull together and getting Monster? Do you know what I mean? Like, are we assuming that the Ralph Rangnick toys will,
I think he's got to be able to prove that he can build a squad.
Yeah,
and he's gone in there to build a squad, But I don't know how much room he's got to sign anyone with the numbers that they have there without moving players on.
Yeah.
So the one to watch for me at the minute is Van der Beek and Jessica Lingard.
Both linked with with our friends across Stanley Park at Everton. And Newcastle, obviously, as well. Will be sniffing around the likes of Lingard. But, there's Lord thrown in there. Lovely way to end this. Lampard and Rooney apparently getting interviewed for the Everton job. I think Wayne Rooney could be a sleeper as a decent appointment there.
I actually think for Wayne Rooney's management career, the best thing he can do is stay well away from Everton. He's done really well at Derby, and that's a bit of a shit show. That's a bit of a shit show at the moment. All the stuff you hear coming out from the Athletic, from any sort of respectable journalist, is behind the scenes at Everton. It's a bit of a shit show, and I've seen some Blues getting really upset, saying we sacked Rafa after he sold Digne, got rid of Marco Brands, which is probably a good thing. I believe one of the head medical people's gone as well, and someone in the recruitment team's gone. So it sounds like there's no real structure behind it. For a young manager, that's not a healthy environment to come into. At first, Rooney, he probably wants to progress, but it's a bit like, I'm not saying he's Brendan Rodgers, but it's like the Brendan Rodgers thing where he got offered the Liverpool job and probably thought, I may not get this option again.
Yeah.
So and it's going to be very hard for him to turn down his boy old club. For me, I think for his career, I think it's setting himself up for a fail, because I actually think he's doing well at Derby. Lampard will just be hilarious. I just think he's overhyped shite.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, they may as well get Ollie in. They may as well get Ollie in just to make sure.
In fairness, I can see why they had no choice but to give it to Ferguson on a temporary basis. But you look at the managers that he's worked with or that he's worked under now. If he hasn't picked anything up from them, he's done his coaching badges. He knows the club inside out. He knows the players, and he knows what's coming through the under-23s. Their under-23s aren't that bad. They're producing some decent young talent. Their problem, I think, now is they're getting very close to being dragged into that relegation battle. And do you want Duncan Ferguson in charge for the rest of the season? If he pulls them safe, do you know what they'll do? They'll do an Ollie. They'll give him a 2-year contract.
I don't know. He's been sniffing around there. He's been in there before, and he was his motivation stuff was he was wearing Joe Royle's bleeding scarf and Howard Kendall's watch and all that. And I don't know if he can do that. It's the 3 bleeding names thing, It'll work once, or you might get away with it once. You certainly
his biggest problem is if he gets the job full time, it's only ending one way. Then what does he do? Because he'll be out the door. What the hell do you do with the rest? He can't. He doesn't know anything else.
But the big problem Everton have got is they don't know what they want. They don't know what they are. And
I do.
I've got Blues. No. If you ask Blues, what do you want? You get 5 different answers. They've been down the established manager merry-go-round of Big Sam. They went down young managers, Silva, Martinez.
Well, they want Martinez back, so
they went down proven Champions League winners, Ancelotti, Rafa. None of them have worked.
Yeah,
which proves the problem isn't the managers completely. It is the shite that's behind it.
Yeah, and when you look at the money they've spent, Swiss Ramble done an excellent thread on this today, and absolutely sliced and diced Everton. I would say let's put them up there as the worst run club in England, because Manchester United can do this, and it'll be a paper cut to them. But the money Everton are hemorrhaging.
That's why they only spent 1.6 million in the summer, because for Greg, that's all they could spend, and that's why they got El Ghazi on loan, because I don't think they can spend any money.
Yeah.
So then you look at Everton going, well, the only way you're going to spend money now is to reduce your costs.
But they bought two bleeding fullbacks for mad shekels as well. So
But I don't think they'd be on massive wages, and with
Yeah.
the money they recouped from Digne,
Probably
they
bounced
had
up.
to do that deal. To be fair, they had to do that deal. Digne wanted out,
yeah,
irrespective of Rafa and all that crap. He
Yeah.
wanted out. They've reduced the wage bill. They've probably made a profit and brought in two players.
The question now
You
is
know,
though,
so
if they want to really rebuild that squad and really make it, fit for purpose,
Richarlison has to go.
it might be a Richarlison or a Calvert-Lewin, 'cause they're the only two real saleable assets. But then, if you take Richarlison out of their side, you're taking a hell of a lot of creativity, and whatever you bring back in, you'd be lucky to get another young Richarlison. Because the scout so far hasn't really proven that they can do that.
I'll tell you who they should go for their young Richarlison is the exact same thing they done with Richarlison. Is go to Watford and take João Pedro, because he's a player in the making. He's only 20 or 21 years old.
After the shit show of Richarlison and nicking the manager and getting in.
Yeah, fair enough, Watford may not be as interested in this as I am. But, if I was on the Ev, I won't read out that comment.
I know the one you mean. I can see we're not reading that one out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just feels like a disaster. But this, I also think there's a Blues question of, and maybe we should try and find a Blue to come on the show to say what
I had a taxi driver in Liverpool there.
No, I mean, not a knobhead like the one you had. I mean, one that's sensible. One that's sensible. We've had Dave Down in here before, who was really good and speaks honestly, but very informative. Someone like Dave Down would be really good to get on to say what is Everton? What do they want? Where do they want to be? Where do they want to go? Because we could all do the jokes, and I do. Let's be honest, I do plenty of them about Everton, but I still think Everton had the problem we had in the 90s, which is we always go, well, as long as United lose, life's good. What are United doing? And we lost track of us. That's the fans and the club. And I do wonder, it feels as a bit of that at Everton of, look at what we do. I mean, we're getting a bit we're in the danger of doing that again with City. What are City doing? And we forget what we're doing. It's hard not to do it. It can be a hypocrite and you go, well, we all do that to a certain extent, but it feels like it's ingrained in it.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, it's a great way to finish up. Before we go, look, if you're watching the show, give us a like. Doesn't cost that. Little thumbs up helps us out a lot. If you don't subscribe and you like what we do, hit subscribe. Gav will be on every day during the week at 2:00 with more mini shows, sort of along these lines, where he's just talking about the news around the day. There's plenty of stuff that we do, wide variety of shows, quizzes, drafts, all that sort of stuff. So if you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe. Give us a like, comment, everything like that, and it really helps us out. We'll wrap it up there. Chris, thanks very much for coming on tonight. I enjoy these shows when we just come on and have a chat. It's not transfer such, but just going through the rumours that are out there, not Liverpool. But yeah, it's good crack.
Yeah, good crack. Yeah, cheers on me, mate. It was good fun.
Yeah, same as you, Kev. Like I said, you boys have been lashing the links in there all day, and when you see some of them, we have a little laugh at them, and some of them make sense, and it's just good to go through these things. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and thanks for everyone in the chat for coming in tonight. Again, we say it all the time, the chat drives these shows. We look at the comments, we try and throw a few up and steer the conversation along those lines, and long may it last. But as I said, we'll have Gav back tomorrow at 2. Them shows are great, and people can throw them on during the day. People that maybe can't tune in live at 10:00, because look, 11:30 we're still going. Tune in at 2 and hear Gav and get involved in the chat that way. It's a great way to do it. But yeah, look, it's been a pleasure. We'll be back soon. You boys will be back at the end of the week, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And we'll have plenty more shows. So this has been the Transfer Agenda. I've been your host, Keith, and we'll leave it there.